I will tell you a legend, which has been passed down from generation to generation by the enthusiasts of the breed. I've noticed it's become very popular among Earthlings, and it's no longer a secret among Corgis, so I'll tell those mere mortals who still don't know the story. Historiography originates long before our era, long before anyone gave names to days, months, counted hours, years. The exact location was not retained either, as the tale has become unclear over the centuries. Wales is the land of fairy tales, with castles in the mist at every corner of the forest, with elves and fairies behind every stone, every tree. For this reason, it is easy to understand that there is also a charmed dog in Wales. This is the story of the dog breed that is called Corgi. It all began with the fairy tribe. They lived in the ancient forests of Wales and spent a lot of time wandering happily through the old-growth forest. Although they had wings, they were so delicate that they could not fly long distances, so they became very lazy. So they decided to create a being they could ride, and on whose back they could travel faster and farther. After much hard work, debate, and deep thought, they arrived at the perfect solution. The dwarf dog, Cor in Welsh for dwarf, Jai in Welsh for dog. Corgis are said to have been created from starlight on an enchanted midsummer night under the guidance of the magical goddess of the fairies. Each Corgi has been endowed with some of the power of the fairies, giving them supernatural abilities and ancient wisdom. The dwarf dog had the physical characteristics of a fox, but lacked a cunning personality. On the contrary, the fairies later learned that this dog could not only travel with the speed of the wind, but was also a loyal and pleasant creature. When the fairies weren't riding their dwarf dogs, they were sending them among the children of ordinary mortals to play with and even watch over them. It was a beautiful summer day, and the sun was shining brightly in the blue sky as the fairy king and queen rode their dwarf dogs through the green hills of their magical kingdom. As they advanced, their view changed. Instead of seeing green fields, fairies, and fragrant flowers, they saw poor people struggling with hard work, working the land without ceasing. Common mortals, working the land just to produce the necessities of daily life. Distracted by this, the fairy king fell from the dwarf dog he was riding, and the queen rushed from hers to save him. The dwarf dogs, who were still puppies, not noticing that the king and queen had fallen, chased on merrily, thinking that everything was fine. In the meantime, the queen revived her fallen husband, but the puppies had already disappeared, and the king and queen did not have the speed to catch up with them.
What shall we do?
Asked the queen.
Our dogs will surely get lost among the hills. We need to go back and do a thorough search,
answered the king. But the queen comforted him fondly, saying,
We don't need to worry. We lost 2 corgi dogs, which we only used for our pleasure. But these dogs will not be lost for long, because they will be found by people who need them more than we do.
The king and queen finally resigned themselves and accepted that the two dwarf dogs could be happy in another place. They understood that not everything in life can be controlled, and that sometimes you have to let things happen naturally. In the end, they returned to their regular lives and continued their journey through their magical kingdom, learning an important lesson about life and letting things happen as they should. After a while, the stray puppies took refuge in the hollow of a huge oak at the edge of the green field where the people were working. Without a care in the world, the puppies started playing, spending wonderful moments together. While they were playing, they didn't even notice the two children who were watching their play. After a while, the children took them in their arms and went home, happy with what they found. When their parents got home and saw the dwarf dogs the children found, they smiled. Their father explained that these dwarf dogs were gifts from the fairies. When the children understood that these dwarf dogs were actually gifts from the fairies, they felt gratitude and appreciation to the goddesses who sent them these small but precious helpers. The family felt blessed and happy to have these hopeful friends and care for them in a way that would give them the same moments of happiness that they brought into their lives. Soon the family of the man became richer, and the dogs of the fairies gave birth to puppies. Since then, as a mark of their fey origin, they all wear saddle or harness marks behind their shoulders. The humans could not find a suitable name for these creatures, so they titled them Corgi, the ancient Welsh word for dwarf dogs, not knowing that the fairies had named them as such. And every year on Midsummer Night, June 24th, when the fairies celebrate, their dwarf dogs return to their origins and party with them. The next day, after the holiday, if the Corgi dogs are tired, now only one day a year, people just smile wisely. They know that every year during midsummer, the dwarf dogs return to the fairies and let them ride them, so that they never forget where their heritage is. One day, a curious young man asked the village elder to explain why Corgi dogs were so important to the fairies. The old man smiled and explained.
When the fairies travel through the human world, they leave their dwarf dogs at the edge of the forest to make sure they always remember the way to their home. But once a year, on Midsummer Night, the dogs return home to reunite with their owners and party with them. This is the fairies' way of showing their gratitude to their dogs, to whom they owe so much.
Corgis worked hard on the farm fields, herding cattle, protecting farm animals, playing with children. So they became much loved and appreciated by the people of Wales, and hundreds of years later, by the whole world. The Corgi became a trusted companion to the people of Wales, protecting them from the dangers of the woods and always being by their owner's side. But with their magical power, Corgis were also a source of protection for the entire region. Legend has it that when the forces of darkness threatened peace and safety, the Corgis would gather in a circle of power and use their magical powers to repel the evil. As time went on, Corgis became less heard and seen in Wales, and their magical power began to fade. But despite this, Corgis have remained known for their loyalty, intelligence, and sense of humor, often being described as dogs with the heart of a lion. Don't you believe this story? Look at the back of a corgi, and you will see the saddle marks left by the wood fairies. Many stories may seem fantastic or unbelievable, but sometimes what seems impossible can be true. The legend of the fairies and the dwarf dogs might be one of those stories that seems exaggerated or unreal to some people, but to others, it may be true. If someone is skeptical, they might look more closely at the saddle marks on a corgi's back. These traces, if carefully studied, can reveal a lot of information. There may be a shape or texture that suggests the marks are left by something that is not an ordinary object, but rather a fairy tale object. There is also the possibility that these traces are very old and have been overlooked many times, which would be further proof that the story of fairies and corgis is not just a myth. Therefore, if one does not believe this story, one should be open to the possibility that there is more than meets the eye and should be willing to investigate further to find out the truth.